Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I thought we would talk about color index names and we would just do a little bit of sketching. It's Sketchtember, and so I thought I would just draw some birds in flight and we can talk about that because there are some really unique ways to save money and know what you're actually buying when different companies use different color names. So on every tube or pan or stick of paint, there is a color index name, and they're alphanumeric. And they typically start with like PB or PY or something that starts with a P. Now the P stands for pigment, and the Y would stand for the color. So that would be pigment yellow. PM would be pigment metal, and PB would be pigment blue, PG would be pigment green, and so on and so forth. Like PBK is black because PBR is brown. So after this alpha portion comes a series of numbers, and it can be small like 17 or large like 97. And there are way too many numbers to memorize and ever possibly learn. But knowing sort of that first portion and memorizing the ones you do like can help. So if a color is named like flamingo pink because it is a handmade color, but you see that it is made from PR12, you know that PR stands for pigment red and the number 12. That way, if you see it in a tube in a store later because you've run out of what you have at home, you see PR12 and it's called, you know, something else silly with a pink name, you know it's going to match and work. So that's one way that color index names can be really helpful. The second way is for pigment versus hue. So when you see a tube say like cadmium red versus cadmium red hue, the cadmium red typically only has one pigment code. It will say like PR whatever 97 or something. And the cadmium red hue is a mix. That's what hue means. It means that there's more than one color. And therefore, it is more affordable. It'll be a smaller series number, and I have what the series numbers mean in a video, but the higher the series number, the more expensive it becomes. So, that's a fun bird, isn't it? This helps you be informed. When color mixing, and we can get into color theory later if folks are really interested in that because I find that fascinating. When you're mixing one pigment with another single pigment from single pigment tubes, it's fine. When you start mixing hue tubes with other tubes that are called hue, you could be mixing anywhere upwards to 6 colors, and that's when you start to get the muddying, where it looks kind of just all shades of brown and you're not getting the desired effect you want. So I would say be very careful of what color index code is on the tube and know how many are on there. Now, the color index names these are standardized codes. So in the United States, we have the Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists. And in the UK, there's the Society of Dyers and Colorists. And these two work jointly together because they have like over 27,000 individual coded products from like 13,000 generic code names. So they're always working, they're always doing things. They're on it for keeping this regulated so it doesn't get too wild and crazy. Now, the reason why you might want to buy mixes, and these could save you a ton of money, but there's a bunch of different reasons why hues actually are a good idea. So You could buy hues because the original color that was made a long time ago, and they didn't know that that specific makeup was toxic. And that's the case with Naples Yellow. So artists that want to recreate original pieces or paint like how a famous painter painted back in the day can still buy mixes that look like the paints that were originally used. So that would be like one reason to buy a mix. Another reason would be if the pigment doesn't actually mix well with the medium. So sometimes in oil paints, it's difficult to mix with different acrylic mediums. And so you can buy a hued paint tube, which is a really nice mix that helps get those working together better. Another reason would be for convenience. If you're constantly mixing two pigments together, and you're getting little tiny variations every single time, but you want it consistent, maybe then switch over to buying a tube that's a mix. And the last reason would be affordability. So if you want to save money, and my favorite example of this is probably Cerulean Blue. You can buy Cerulean Blue, which is a series 5 or 6. It's really high up there. It's very expensive to purchase. And I would still recommend you buy the Cerulean Blue for mixing in small details. But if you are doing like a huge blue background and you're painting a sky, and let's say you're doing lots of little bird illustrations on top of it, and you're not mixing the color at all, maybe consider buying Cerulean Blue Hue, which is a series 2 paint, which means it's more affordable. And that one is a mix of, I believe, zinc oxide and like phthalo blue. So you wouldn't want to use it for mixing because it's a combination of two different pigments. But if you're just laying it down and you want to save a ton of money, that would be one way to do it. I know the index codes and the series codes, it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of sort of keeping track of all these different things. And with art, sometimes it's just fun to lay stuff down. But knowing this can save you money and save you time and save you tons of stuff. I wanted to kind of bring this one out again. This is the Daniel Smith Prussian Green watercolor. And I'll link my series video. This is a series 1. So series 1 is the most affordable. And when we look at the color index codes, we get PB27, which is pigment blue 27, and we have PY97, so pigment yellow 97. So this is two different pigments put together. It is a blue and a yellow that make this Prussian green, which is why I purchased it, because I use a lot of Prussian green in my work. Now, I just recently found out, because this is touted as having excellent light fastness, that it doesn't in fact have excellent light fastness. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what other companies sell a Prussian green with different mixes of PB and PYs that aren't those two numerical ones, to find one that has a better light fastness rating. So that is another way that these index codes help in making informed decisions and purchases. So you can save money, you can save time, you can reduce the level of toxicity, because some pigments and paints are not the best for the health. It's a very fascinating system, and I think it's great. This was set up in the 1920s, I believe 1925, to sort of make this cohesive and put this all together for artists and folks. And I appreciate that. But sometimes I will hop on YouTube and listen to someone's YouTube, and they're going on and on about the different numbers, and I don't have the numbers memorized, but I know some of them are more light fast than others, and I know they'll combine a non-light fast color index code, a pigment, with another pigment to sort of maintain a higher level of light fastness. But I think in the end they're still fading. So purchase with care, reading, informed decisions. This can help us save money and buy things that when we use them, we know what we're getting. So we know that when we mix something that's one pure pigment, we know how it's going to react when we mix it with another one. The ones that are like heavy mixes of 2 and 3 colors, sometimes you don't know which one's going to be the strongest and have the most covering power within that tube. So that can make that more complicated. I hope this helped a little bit. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.